Welcome back to another episode of the Casey Campbell podcast. Casey Campbell with you, of course. Pleased to be joined by Brian Huberty, the head football coach at Plainwell. How's it going?
It's going great, great. Appreciate the opportunity to come on board.
Okay, so I know last year, your first year back at Plainwell. I know you were previously on staff for a long time. You're also a Plainwell grad. But overall, how was kind of getting kind of that transition period going in that first year, and then now really jumping in to you have a whole summer now with these guys, and what has it been? What has the last few months been like for you, just to know that you have a full summer?
It's been great because when I first got the role, it was like March of what would that have been 23,
Yeah.
and so the window to do all the off-season stuff kind of starts to narrow a little bit. So this is the first year from the moment that our season ended. We were getting back at it, getting in the weight room, encouraging kids to uh, participate in other sports and really kind of get to the nuts and bolts that makes teams successful, which is the hard work part. And people, I think, get surprised by how much successful teams do in the off season, and we just didn't have an opportunity to do that. And so this will be a whole year of all of those things that make you better, which is I'm excited about.
Yeah. Okay, so really what excites you about, about this group that you have, meeting all the kids last year. Now you know everybody, but and now you've been with them for a year. What excites you about the group that you have?
They have a chip on their shoulder. You know, uh, Plainwell for a long time, very successful. I had a very long playoff streak appearance streak, and I think they have a chip on their shoulder. They recognize that we didn't have a great season last year, and they're the ones responsible for changing that. And so the core group of kids that we have that are showing up day in and day out, they're getting bigger and they're getting stronger and they work hard. And they're kind of those silent workers. They're not the ones that really chirp about it a whole lot. Um, it's just been excited to see them embrace the process.
It's kind of like, like clocking in the timesheet a little bit, going
Yeah,
in, doing the 9 to 5 thing, and then leaving to go home. So
yeah. Very much a lunch pail kind of group.
absolutely. Those are some of my favorite teams. So let's talk about those guys. So talk about some of the returners that you have, and then maybe some of the names that fans of Plainwell watching this video maybe that don't know yet, that they'll probably know once you guys take the field. So let's start with the skill positions and then go from there.
Sure. So, returning wise, skilled positions, we have Abel Jorgensen. He was our lone first team all conference player last year as a junior, now going to be a senior. Led the team in tackles. Very kind of Swiss Army knife kind of kid. Um, and he is the epitome of silent worker, just doing his part, but has turned into a pretty good leader and growing himself out of just being that worker bee. He plays offensively. He can play kind of that unattached tight end kind of kid. He might carry the ball a little bit for us. He could definitely get out of the box and catch the ball. Defensively, he's that safety, kind of that hybrid kid who could probably is a little small to play inside linebacker, but he'd do it and he'd figure it out. But he'll be really good for us at that safety position. So that's Abel. Marco Vega is a second year player. He's never played before outside of last year. It was his first time playing football. He'll be a senior this year. He played wide receiver and defensive back for us. We expect big things from Marco. He has grown huge in the leadership role. He's very, very good wrestler. So having his athleticism out there is going to be important for us. Um, skill wise, we have Easton Healy. Easton was an undersized lineman last year for us, an offensive lineman. And he's kind of changed, morphed his body to a point where he's still pretty big and strong kid, but we're going to put him in a position to maybe touch the ball a little bit. And then we transition him from the defensive line to one of our linebackers. So we look at that. I mean, from the senior perspective, those are probably our core skill guys that are returning.
Yeah.
Um, Guys on the line that are returning, Braden Riley was by far our best lineman, both sides of the ball last year, and he returns with a major chip on his shoulder. That he's definitely carrying that, and so he'll play some offensive lines, and then we're going to transition him to linebacker as well because he's athletic enough to do that. Um, we also will have, let's see, we have Aiden Young. Forgot about Aiden.
Yeah.
Aiden is a heavyweight wrestler, and he placed at state. And he's a tremendous athlete. You think for a kid who's as big as he is, um, wouldn't move as well as he does, but I have a nickname for him. I call him the Big Cat because he's so stinking nimble. And he's great. He'll play on both sides of the ball for us on the line. He's not a super tall kid, but he just is so agile, and he never gets tired. I've never seen a kid that big never get exhausted about anything. Um, those are kind of our key returners for the year as far as seniors goes. Juniors are going to carry a lot of the load. We have a really good junior class coming in, so newcomers, and a lot of these guys are fifth quarter kids, so they get to play an extra quarter. So they've all had varsity playing experience. Two of the kids who ended up starting as fifth quarter kids that ended up sticking up on the varsity last year and finished the season on varsity. One's Drew Raymond. Drew's a wide receiver, defensive back kid, fast twitch kind of kid. Um, Great hands, understands the game, really athletic. He ended up as a sophomore, playing pretty well for our basketball team in the wintertime on varsity. So he's a great returner, and he started 4 games for us last year at the end of the season. And then Grant Comer is an offensive lineman, defensive lineman kid. He started the last 2 or 3 weeks of the season for us, so he has experience. And then the last one is Luke Filkins. He's a quarterback, big kid, about 6'1", 6'2", about 210. Baseball player. He's in fact, I think he's in Milwaukee right now, getting pretty close to touching 90 on the gun as a incoming junior. So he's got a really strong arm, is a very heavy runner. So we're going to have to use him in a way where he can both hand the ball off, spin the ball out to somebody on the edge, or be a runner himself. So great returners come in with some varsity experience, newcomers who will be full-time players. So it's going to be exciting to see these guys morph into a successful team.
Yeah, for sure. It's of course you talked about the players. Now let's talk about the schedule that you have. And the Wolverine Conference is always, there's a lot of teams in there that have had a lot of success over the years, of course, with Edwardsburg and Niles. And of course, I know Sturgis has had a big long history, just like yourself. Actually, pretty much everybody in here has had a good successful run at some point during their during one point or another. So I'll just go through the schedule, and then we'll talk kind of about the league a little bit. So opening up the season at home against Hamilton, September 6th at Coldwater, September 13th home against Edwardsburg, September 20th at Sturgis, September 27th at Paw Paw, October 4th home against Three Rivers, October 11th home against Otsego, October 18th at Niles, and finishing out the regular season October 25th at home against Vicksburg. So pretty good schedule. This conference is always, you never know what could come out of it. I mean, what is the Wolverine Conference going to be like this year for maybe people that may not be familiar with it, as also your kind of your preview to the season among the with the league.
Yeah, I think top to bottom, it's a tough conference. We have our 2 non-conference games to start with both Hamilton and Coldwater. Hamilton plays in a very tremendously difficult conference in the OK. Um, we transition to our conference play, and we start off with, a very seasoned Edwardsburg team. They're always difficult. I know this is going to be year 2 for Coach Purley over there. He's a really good coach. Coach Bartz, prior to Coach Purley, had a very long, successful string at Edwardsburg, and they're just a machine. You know, they plug and play players so well in their system. So it's going to be a great challenge for us to start off with the conference play. And we always circle Otsego. That's a big, big. Um, um, what's the word I'm looking for? Our
Rival.
rival. Yeah, thank you. Our rival. It's one of the top 4 longest rivalries in the state of Michigan. I think we're in year one, 128, 129, 129 years, something like that, of football against Otsego. And they got us last year. And that broke a stretch for a long time. They hadn't had a win since maybe '07 or '08. So it's a great rivalry. We have that game circled. That's going to be a really important one for both communities. And then, you look at some of the top teams in the conference last year in both Paw Paw and Niles, and those are really tough teams. Coach Shaw over there at Niles had a great run. Coach Stray at Paw Paw, his son, just committed to Kentucky.
Yep.
They have some really, really good, strong ball players over there. So really, really tough weeks. Now, there's hardly a week off in the Wolverines. So you kind of hear a lot on the west side of Michigan. You hear a lot about the OK conference and how tough they are. And granted, they are very, very tough. But don't sit on the Wolverine. We have some state titles in the conference and long, deep playoff runs. So it's a battle any given week.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's kind of take a look at these next few weeks. I know this is the kind of this is kind of the time where, this off season's a little bit different with, with the MHSA granting you guys a handful of practices in June and in the summer. So teams could go right out of the gate and, learn the offense, learn the defense and all that stuff. And what has that been like? To have and what have you kind of done with it and your plans for the next few weeks?
Yeah, so we get 15 days in the summer, camps and 7-on-7s, and we try and take advantage of all of that. We want to give our kids opportunities to compete. So we participated in 5 7-on-7s, did some around here, went up to Grand Rapids, did some up there. Opportunities just to compete, and it's not just about learning our X's and O's, but also learning how to compete against great teams, great players. So we've done that. We have our camps that we do. In fact, we just wrapped up our last camp last night, and a great opportunity to install what we want to do. We've made some changes on defense, kind of hit the basics with our offense, and just give guys opportunities to get reps, learn stuff. We want practice to be a competition. You know, we don't want anybody feeling that they're safe. We want everybody feeling like they got to work in practice and make practice as difficult as we can, so that by the time we get to the games, it feels like it's a little easier.
Okay. Plans for the next few weeks. I know you just finished up your last camp, but of course, what is this program going to look like? For the next few weeks is
Yeah,
with the 12th.
great question. So actually, I'm having the boys over to the house tonight. I think we're gonna have a little bit of an NCAA tournament this evening in the backyard with a projector. So we're gonna do that next week. We wrap up our lifting and our conditioning portion of the summer next week. We have some little kids, some youth camps that'll go on. It's really important for me that kids understand that they're just not playing the game for themselves. They're going to give back to the community. So we have a middle school camp. We have a rocket camp next week that they all work at. We have a golf outing on Saturday next week that some of the boys come to help with. And then after that, I kind of give them the week off of the 5th. We come back on August 9th, which is Friday. We hand equipment out, and then we load up in a couple buses and we head to the beach. Over here on the southwest side of Michigan, we head over to Lake Michigan. So we head over to the beach and we spend the day together, running the dunes and playing football in the lake and just kind of getting some of that camaraderie. And then August 12th, man, we get going.
Yeah, of course, 2 days begins on August 12th. And of course, most games begin on that weekend of Labor Day weekend with the 29th, of course, with Thanksgiving getting pushed back a week. So yeah. All right. Well, Brian, thank you so much for the time as always, and best of luck to you guys this coming season.
Casey, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.